Hey everybody, Matt Geary here for the Geek Pride Cast on this Monday evening. With me tonight, he's back from his holiday, my co-host, Peter Allison.
Good evening, everyone.
And he's back again, 2 podcasts in a row, Jon Jo Cosgrove.
Good evening.
And our special guest tonight, he had stormtroopers at his wedding. He owns a bear. He has a mighty beard.
Far better than yours, Matt.
And he has possibly one of the coolest names you're ever going to get, Dan Knight.
Hello.
So, Dan, welcome.
Yes.
Who are you? What do you do? What's your thing?
I'm clearly half Viking. My name is Dan Knight. I design and develop board games for a living. I work for a company called Stonesword Games in Nottingham. And yeah, that's pretty much it. My day and my social life is pretty much I play board games professionally and for my leisure as well. Yeah, it's a hard, terrible job. It really is. It's I don't recommend it for anybody.
So, right. So the first thing I want to talk about, because I've known you for, like, we were just talking about this, so about nearly 10 years now. I'd say nearly 10 years. I took photographs at your wedding when I decided I was going to do photography for a while, and realized it really stressed me out, because I was like, I'm ruining people's lives. But I took photographs at your wedding. You had an amazing wedding. You had stormtroopers, you had lightsabers, you had the whole thing. You had board games in the afternoon, which was absolutely amazing. That was such a good idea. But I knew you for a few years, and then suddenly you were moving to Nottingham. You were going to the promised land, the board gaming promised land. Where did that decision come from? What made you decide this is what I'm going to do?
Other than it's Nottingham.
Nottingham is basically my spiritual home. This is my third time I've lived in Nottingham now. But it was for the current job. So I met the guys at Stonesword Games at the UK Games Expo in, I want to say 21, the first post-COVID Expo.
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah. So I wasn't going to go. They put out that they weren't going to do mandatory mask wearing. They weren't going to do the COVID test for entry. And I was like, nope, I don't want it. I'm not going there and getting it. I'm avoiding that. Then they backpedaled and they said, yeah, it's going to be mandatory mask wearing. You'll need your NHS pass to get in. And I was like, okay, cool. It might be worth the risk. But at that point, I'd spent all the money I was going to spend. I'd saved up for it to buy games, decided I wasn't going, and spent it all. And then a guy called Russell, who does all the demo stuff for Queen Games, lovely guy, used to, haven't had a Queen Game stand this year, but he used to run the Queen Game stand every year at Expo, and he asked me if I wanted to go down and help. And I was like, well, I wasn't going to go, and well, you're going to pay travel. I'll go. So I turned up, and on one of my afternoons off, I was walking around, and I met the guys at Stonesword, and they had this very, very early prototype of a samurai dueling game, and it was all of about 20 cards and 3 characters at very, very early stage. And I played it, and I thought, oh, this is good. I was like, this is very, very good. Went home, immediately stole a copy of the game from TTS. I grabbed all the files, I printed all the cards out, phoned a friend, my mate Steve, and said, Steve, come round and play this game, it's amazing. He basically he believed me, he came round, and we spent all evening playing Senjutsu, the samurai dueling game. It was really, really, really early in the stage of development, and I wrote essentially 4 pages of stuff that I was like, this is me being me, and I'm very blunt and very honest. Like, this is rubbish. This needs to change. This doesn't work. This works. This is really good. This bit's rubbish. This bit's rubbish. I really like this. Maybe change that a little bit. And I just sent it across to the guys. So to James Faulkner, who's now my boss, and completely unbidden, and just went, here's all the stuff that I think is wrong with your game. And then 2 days later, logged on to TTS. Steve and I were going to play again, and then everything that we'd gone through and this huge list of stuff we said we wanted changing, he changed. He listened to us, we were completely unbidden. We sent him all this stuff, and he just implemented all the changes, and we played it and we loved it. And so we started playtesting, just volunteering to help out and make the game really good. It went on Kickstarter. It massively blew up, like huge. I think like James was expecting it to do like sort of 1,000, 2,000 copies, and at the end it had like 10,000 backers, and it made I think it was like with backer kit and all the post Kickstarter like 1.5 million or something stupid, which is crazy money. And then James was like, well, actually, we're really good at this. We can make games that people enjoy and love and want to buy. So he basically set up Stone Sword full time, and then said, "Do you want a job?" And I was like, "Well." At the time, I was working for the local council in Huddersfield, and people would phone me and shout at me because their bin hadn't been collected. And I was like, get shouted at about bins, design board games for a living. And it was kind of a no-brainer. And then, yeah, did that for about 8-10 months, commuting up and down the M1 twice a week. Decided, not good. And then moved to Nottingham, so I was nearer to the office. And so I've been here now for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whereabouts in Nottingham do you live? I mean, I live just over the road in Derby.
So Arnold. So about as far north as you go before you hit Sheep.
Yeah. Yeah. I know Arnold. Yeah. Very nice.
So Stone Sword have there's a lot of games here that like Daimyo. I didn't realize. Were you part of Daimyo as well?
Yeah. So so Martin Wallace designed it for us. It's not come out yet. That'll be the next thing we do on Kickstarter. So Senjutsu's had the usual issues you get with Kickstarter, so delays, freight problems. If it could go wrong with the Kickstarter, it went wrong for us. And we're now just getting off the back end of fulfillment. So I think we're down to like low double digits globally of copies we still have to send out. It's like there's like 2 here, 3 there, that we're still trying to get the back end of done. But once that's done and it's 100% complete, we'll launch Daimyo, which hopefully should be the end of this year. We haven't got a date for it yet.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, that was a Martin Wallace game. So the idea with the Japan series, so Battle for Japan was going to be, or still would be, a series of 3 games. So Senjutsu was like a really zoomed in, tight combat game with 2 characters. Daimyo is really zoomed out. It's area control for the entirety of Japan. And then the 3rd game will be Yugen, which will be a cooperative ninja dungeon crawler.
Ooh, nice. I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that. That Senjutsu, I was so close to backing that. Like there was a couple of us sort of kind of eyeing it up.
Oh, that's it. He didn't. I'm out.
Yeah, but I was I've just got the screen capture still on, but yeah, I had to I can't even remember what stopped me at the time, but I was just like, oh, that's the pretty things. So looking at the I'm looking at the website now. It's got some of the miniatures look absolutely class. There's the one where he's got his dog.
Oh, that goddamn dog! Oh no,
dog.
It's like the story there to that.
That dog nearly broke me. Yeah. So at its heart, it's a 1 character versus 1 character knife fight in a phone box.
Yeah,
it's 1v1 short, fast fighting game.
Yeah.
And then the guy said, I'd done about 7 or 8 characters out of the 15 that there ended up being. And they turned around and said, wouldn't it be really cool, right? And you always know I'm going to die a little inside when the conversation starts. Wouldn't it be really cool? Wouldn't it be really cool if there was an Ashigaru peasant and he had a dog? And I was like, no, it wouldn't. No. No, it really would. It'd be amazing. A dog. And so, yeah. And then so I had to design this entire new mechanic for having a deck that you don't quite control, but you do control because you can tell the dog what to do, and sometimes he listens to you and sometimes he doesn't. So let's do with dog.
Sounds like my dog, pretty much.
It's really cool because it meant I could do some really cool design stuff. So like up until that point, every character had like a theme or a focus on what they did. So you had like so you have Musashi, who's got 2 swords, so all his cards involve like being able to attack multiple different areas at the same time. And so with the dog, it let me do some really cool stuff where you could like have the dog hold your opponent in place so he can't move. So then you can whack him and do some damage. So they're really cool. So they work together in a really nice tag team kind of way.
Yeah.
So he's definitely one of the cooler characters mechanically to design.
Yeah,
it sounds like just listen to what you're doing a lot of different games. You kind of got the card game, you've got the area control game, and now you've got like a ninja dungeon crawler.
Yes.
I mean, typically some game companies, I'm not going to name them, can focus on one specific type of game, but you've kind of gone for all of them.
So yeah, we've kind of gone for as opposed to a type of game is an audience for games. So we kind of everything we make is on the heavier side. Senjutsu is certainly not a light game. It's fast. I mean, you can play it in 20 minutes, but there's a lot of moving parts to it. So there's quite a lot to learn to play. But once you've nailed it, you can get it out 15, 20 minutes, game done, finished. Daimyo is a 6-player area control. So that's like a 3-4 hour evening session. But so we went for sort of, we didn't want to pigeonhole ourselves too much because like you say, some studios go, well, this is what we're going to do. And it means like if something cool came along, like say a license came across your board and you're like, oh, that's amazing. But actually, it doesn't fit what we do. Like, do you pass up the chance to make an amazing game for an amazing license and like have a really cool time doing what you love to then go, oh, well, let's do another one of those that we did last year. So for us, it was like we wanted to have options when we do games. So there's stuff I can't talk about that I really want to, which really leans into which really leans into the idea that like, we can look at like a much larger area of games to work on and develop. So
yeah, we've got like so you go from feudal Japan, and then you've got Hogs of War, and then you've got Werewolf Vietnam with Full Moon Jacket, which is absolutely insane.
It's that's on the much lighter end. It's very much chuck dice, scoop models off the board. It's very. I mean, Hogs is the same as well. So Hogs and Full Moon are both very much beer and pretzels games. So they're kind of very loose with the interpretation of what you can do within the game. So we occasionally get emails from people that say, "What can I do with this?" And the answer is pretty much whatever you want. Which is kind of a two-edged sword. It's kind of cool because like you can do like anything you want with it. Like if you want to use that token to do really cool scenarios, or you want that explosive ammunition to do loads of extra damage, you can do that. But then you get people who like they want to be told what to do. There's a class of board gamer which is they're very like the book says this, so that's what I have to do.
Yeah.
And so it's trying to show them that actually, no, it's not the case. You can do anything you want. So Daimyo is a really good example. So there's a mechanic in Daimyo where if you're playing with less than 6 players, some of the provinces you can fight over are obviously neutral and they have no player control. So rather than just make it get X number, get control, take the card, there's a randomizer deck. And there's 10 cards that they've got modifiers from like -2 to +4, and you shuffle these cards, you draw it at random, and it adds that to the strength of the province. So it could be really easy to kill it, it could be really hard to kill it, but the rule book doesn't have a do this. It doesn't say use these 4 cards or these 6 cards. So what it says is, here's a bunch of cards, go make your own deck, make them as easy or as hard as you want. And so I really like that idea that it's your game for you to play how you want to play and how you want to have fun. It shouldn't be up to me to tell you how to have fun. Like the main mechanics of the game are there to show you how the game works and flows, but within that you've then got mechanisms and levers you can pull to make it more exciting or harder or easier. So the idea is then it can tick the box for a bunch of different gaming groups. So like the guys I play with are pretty serious, that let's get on, let's do this, heavy gamers. Whereas you might have a bunch of guys who they meet up once a month to get some beers in, and it's more about the social interaction than actually playing the game. And for them, it gives you a couple of mechanics to make it so that you don't feel like you've been hard done by when that once a month meeting is, we all got our asses kicked by the AI, so they can make it be easier for themselves.
So
it sounds almost like a role-playing game in terms of where they kind of have like, these are the rules. Ignore the ones you don't want to use or modify the ones you want.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same for Senjutsu. So the idea with Senjutsu was like there was going to be two modes of play. There'll be organized play and tournaments where very much this is what you do. This is the rules. This is how it works, and everybody plays by those rules. It's kind of a hybrid of a card game and a board game. And the problem with card games inherently is it doesn't matter how much testing you do, something will get through. Something will get through that you didn't see in playtest, and someone goes, but did you know that this card and this card are broken and just destroy everything? Like, no, I did not. And then you have to issue errata and change cards and things. So that erratas and card changes, that's all organized play, structured events. On your kitchen table, Senjutsu, do what you want. You can play with the errata, you can ignore the errata. I don't really care either way. As long as you're having fun with the game, that's what I care about. I care that the game is fun for you and your play group and how you play. And so, yeah, we can do that with Senjutsu, with Daimyo. And there's an element of it in pretty much everything I design and develop. Is I like to have something in there that's like, it's not strictly speaking needed, but it does add depth if you want it. If you don't have to.
I know this is going to upset the two other Geek Pride guys, but I don't really play a lot of the board games or
Get out.
He's a film nerd.
So, but do you know what I mean? Hearing especially like Senjutsu, I think that's I think it sounds really fun. So for a novice like me, how easy could I pick up and play?
Out of the box, like you could pick up the box. So the way the game was designed was we wanted it to be playable by people like you and people like me. So you want people like me who want to build a deck and get into the nitty gritty of all the different combos and stuff and go, oh, that card with that card. Fantastic, I can do that. But you new to board gaming or, not wanting to get into the heavy side of building your own deck, every single character has his own mini 30 card deck. It's kind of like a learn to play flavor deck. So you can just get that. They come, each has got a little list on the back of his card, tells you which cards you need. So it tells you what to build. And then those small 30 card decks, you can play them against any other character. I think there's a very small overlap where there's a couple that you can't quite build them together because of the space in the box. Damn dog! Back to that dog. The dog took too much room in that box. So you can't build the Ashigaru and the assassin together because there wasn't enough space in their box for extra cards. So there's I'd say 14 out of the 15 characters I think you can build their decks, and basically you can set them up. Off you go. One of the things that wasn't in the game, which we're now adding, and I think it's on our website, possibly. I don't know if it's on there yet. We've made a learn to play guide, which actually says, well, you take the student, take the master, here's the decks you build. You pre-stack the first 4 cards in your deck, and it will take you through how the game works. So from drawing your first card to playing it, how they interact, that will take you through your first game. And then you can run through that 2-3 times if you need to get a hang of it, and after that, off you go. You're on your own. You should have more than enough info to play the game.
You've got a 2-player learn to play guide on here. Senjutsu, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, it's on there. Hey, I'm not the web guy.
Yeah, and I clicked it, and it makes me download something. So yeah, okay, you got something on there.
Yeah, that'd be the PDF learn to play guide. Yeah.
Just hearing that now, I kind of really now want to have a go at this game. It sounded fun.
One of the first ever area control games I ever played was a game called Shogun, back in the day, which I still think sort of was the sort of what's the word? I can't even think of the word. Where Total War, the first Total War was Total War Shogun and stuff. And I think like because that board game and that game came out well the let's see, Shogun was late 80s. I want to say late 80s board game.
No, don't say that because it makes me feel old.
Yeah, because I remember playing as a kid, like very, and then I remember the first year in university, the first Total War game came out, and I went, holy shit! I used to play this as a board game, and I was just like, they must have some sort of connection here. They must have gone, I love that board game. Let's make a computer game, and then we've got the Total War section. But that whole Japanese sort of era, the Senjutsu era, is that right? The Senjutsu, is that how I pronounce it?
Sengoku, yeah.
Sengoku, yeah. The Civil War, effectively. I love it. It's really good, and it's all because of that one board game. So that was the one other reason where I was just like, oh, I'm gonna have to back this game. But I think either I didn't have the money at the time, or I was persuaded not to because I'd already backed about a million other things. But it's so pretty looking, so pretty, so pretty.
So send me an email afterwards. We'll yeah.
It is like I'm a sucker for good miniatures, and man, they are beautiful things.
Thank you.
So you've that was talking about the sort of you had Beer and Pretzel games and the Hogs of War one, which would sort of kind of move us on to the new game that you got, which is through Stone Sword, but you're getting it published by Warlord Games.
Yeah. So it's called Vanguard, or Vanguard Normandy. The idea being that if it takes off, we can do Vanguard North Africa, Vanguard Pacific. So it's Vanguard Normandy was the first one. We know Pete from Warlord pretty well, and he came to us and said, hey, we want a board game. We've not done a board game before. Do you guys want to make a board game for us? And my boss loves bolt action, goes to every event he can physically get to. He's not very good at it, but he goes. And so he was like, yeah, of course we do. Yeah, we'd love to make a board game. Can we do bolt action a board game? And so bolt action being Warlord's flagship game. And they're like, well, yeah, why not? And this was middle of last year, a bit earlier, maybe springtime last year. And so James has been kind of, he put something together quite quickly. So it started off with the DNA of Hogs, and then we changed a few bits to make it more bolt actiony, and then it's kind of left Hogs behind in its development. And it's taken more bolt action into it. So if you're familiar with bolt action, there's a lot of the stuff in there is similar.
For those that are not familiar with bolt action,
shocking.
How would you describe it to complete newbie?
So one of the cool things about bolt action, so bolt action is a World War II war game in the similar vein of Warhammer 40k, fantasy, dudes on a board, roll loads of dice, take dudes off the board. One of the cool things bolt action has is a fantastic initiative system, which is essentially every unit in the game has an activation token. All of those tokens go in a bag, and then you draw one a turn out of that bag, and depending on if it's your token or my token, tells us who gets to activate one of their units. So if you've played or seen any of the Warhammer games, I get to move all my guys, I get to fight with all my guys, and then assuming any of your guys are left alive, it's now your go to do all that.
I fucking hate it.
So it's very... it's not terrible if it's balanced, and the latest 40k is a lot more balanced than it has ever been, which is great. However, it is still pretty demoralizing when you play someone like, I don't know, your mate who's got Eldar who goes, here's my bucket of dice, all your guys are dead, it's your turn, you can move your 3 guys. So bolt action doesn't do that. Bolt action, the back and forth of the bag is fantastic. So even like when you build your list, it's not about like putting all the powerful stuff in there. You've got to have enough guys to get enough tokens in the bag, so you don't roll up to a game where you've got like 6 Death Star units of awesome power, but if your opponent's got 20 units, he's got like a 4-to-1 advantage on you getting tokens out of the bag. So you've got to build with that in mind, that you're not always going to get to do all your stuff all at once. So we've taken that. That's the very core activation system in Vanguard. So Vanguard does the exact same thing. For everything you've got on the board, you get a token, it goes in a bag, and every turn you draw tokens out of the bag, and then it tells you who gets to activate stuff. So it is and it isn't bolt action, the board game. So bolt action players will be familiar with some of the mechanics, but not all the mechanics, because it's a board game, not a war game. But it also means you don't have to be familiar with bolt action to play Vanguard. Like you can play it as a board game, having never played bolt action before. Ideally, you'll play it and go, oh, this is amazing. I want to play some more World War II, but I want to play a bigger, more in-depth game. I'll go get bolt action. Or if you play bolt action, but you don't have 3 hours and a massive table and time to get together and play a war game, but you want to scratch that World War II war game itch, then you can go, well, let's play Vanguard, because it'll take like 90 minutes tops, pretty much. So it's trying to bridge the gap between board game and war game audience. We think it does it really well. But yeah, it's 90% done now. I'm working on the solo mode this week, which is always fun because I know what it does and I know what it's supposed to do, and then you give it to somebody and go, here's how the solo works, and they go, well, what does that do? And it's like, it's in the book. No, it isn't. I'm sure it's in the book. No, it isn't. And so my week is generally trying to remember what I know in my head that I haven't put on the book, so you can play with it. So that's solo design's loads of fun because, any design really is like, I know what it does, and if I don't write down exactly how I want it to do that, people go, that doesn't work. It's like, no, it does. It does this. Like, that's not what it says. It's like, it does.
I've noticed solo players kind of really come to the fore in gaming. Now, before it seemed to be kind of not even considered. Everything was 2-player, but now they're kind of redesigning a solo player element in games and role playing games as well.
I think that's from COVID. I think. I was never a solo gamer. I always play games for the social aspect, and then through COVID, I picked up a bunch of games to play solo because I needed to play a board game, and obviously you couldn't get together. It was either hope you've all got cameras and Skype, and then your internet would go down, or somebody's Skype wasn't working, and then the evening you put aside to play, you couldn't play. All the inherent problems with even playing like TTS or Board Game Arena. If someone's internet goes, then you've lost a player. So I think a lot of people then look to solo as a way to scratch that itch, and then actually realized it was a lot of fun. And then off the back of it, every time we look at a game now, the first thing James says is, what are we going to do for solo? And it's like, no. So Damio is a good example. So Damio is a 6-player area control game. It's a monster. And it was like, what we're going to do for solo? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, we did do a solo. There is an AI for it, but ultimately, it makes a fairly easy area control game massively complicated. Who wants to sit there and run 5 AI players so they can play their one solo game? It's mad.
Well, when you talk about AI. Do you literally mean an AI, or do you have a sort of random card playing system for dictating how each of those factions operate?
So yes to both. So any card system is generally an AI. So the we're going to agree to disagree on this one. So yeah, I mean, it depends on what you make the cards do, right? So Vanguard Solo is a really easy one to kind of use for this because I'm currently working on it. So when you play Vanguard, so the idea is you'll start with like a command section. So the Germans will get a commander, your US will get like a lieutenant. Sorry, lieutenant, because you're American. So that's your starting guy. And then as the game goes on, you'll acquire more requisition, which will let you buy more stuff. So if you're the US, you can buy riflemen, you can buy a sniper, a bazooka, a Stuart tank, a Sherman tank. So as the game goes on, you'll get more money and more access to better stuff, and you'll basically buy those and deploy them onto the table. Your opponent will do the same. So Pete, if you and I are playing, you'll have access to Hanamags and Grenadiers and Stern Pioneers, and you'll put all those on the table. So what we need to do with Solo there is basically make a system which will feel like one of us isn't at the table, but still making decisions that you'd expect that person to make. So The basic principle of solo mode for Vanguard is one of the key mechanics is supply. So as you play through the game, you have a supply level, and that will dictate how powerful the units you have access to are. So if you're playing solo, you'll start out at supply level 1, and that will give you US riflemen, jeeps, and a machine gun. So nothing spectacular, the basics of your army. So the opposing AI player will also have access to similar stuff. So we'll have the grenadiers, BMW motorbikes, which are the motorbike sidecar with a machine gun in. So similar stuff to you. So to make sure you don't get your ass kicked by the bot, it doesn't buy Stugs or Tigers, because that would be insane if a Tiger tank turned up on turn 1. So the way it works is, as you buy stuff, the game will check what you've got, like what your supply level is, how many units you've got, and then it will tell the bot, right, you're buying this turn. So if you've bought, so let's say you're midway through your solo game and you've bought a Sherman tank. So it's the poster boy of the US tank forces, Sherman. So it's got heavy armor and it's got a big gun. So if the bot hasn't got any anti-tank guns, the first thing it's going to do is go, right, you've got a tank, how do I kill it? I'm going to buy a Pak 36 anti-tank gun. So it's going to react to what you do. That way, in theory, you've got a much more balanced game on your hands. If you don't buy a lot of armor, the AI will shy away from buying anti-tank guns. It doesn't need them, so it'll buy more infantry, more machine guns, and more things that will kill your infantry. So it kind of thinks on a very basic level, but not in depth enough that that it's going to just womp you every single time.
So it's sort of set a system of rules, which it reacts based on each player's decision.
Yeah, and then when it activates a unit, it has a flow chart, so it'll go, well, my gun has this particular unit's gun is good at killing tanks. Is there a tank in range? So if it has a chance to shoot a tank, it will shoot a tank with an anti-tank gun. If there's no tank for it to shoot at, it's going to shoot at you guys with the anti-tank gun. So it has a behavioral system baked into the cards that it draws and how it interacts with the board. So my goal when I design AI is, if anybody's ever spoken to me about AI before, this will be familiar to you. My AI theory is it should be someone you can play against who's going to give you a decent game. So it might not necessarily give you the best game, because no card system, no behavioral mechanic under the sun in any board game, no matter how good the design, is going to give you that human level opponent. It can't. It's just not possible. But it has to be.
You can't do random.
Exactly. I mean, or if you bake random into a bot system, it is just random.
Yeah.
And while players will do crazy ass stuff in the middle of games that you didn't expect, any AI bot system doesn't understand that, and it can't understand that. And anything you put in that tries to emulate it it just feels like let's just do that, it's random. So for me, a bot system or an AI in a board game has to be good enough to give you a challenge, and it should beat you sometimes, but not all the time. But also, it shouldn't play at a level which is basically Christmas Day and Grandma saying, "Oh, your mum's cooking dinner. I'll play your new board game with you, Sonny. Let's have a look." So you don't want that experience with your AI either. So somewhere in the middle is kind of what we aim for.
Me.
I mean, is there a risk that because you've got so many systems baked in that it can be predicted what they will do?
Yes. Yeah. So it's basically mitigating that planning.
Yeah.
Is something that on occasion, if you walk past the door to our office, you will hear my boss and I discussing exuberantly. So I don't like things to be predictable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because if they're predictable, there's no challenge. So we'll take Vanguard again. So the anti-tank gun thing with Vanguard again. So originally, if you buy that Sherman tank, the AI was always going to buy the anti-tank gun. But if you know that, then you can delay buying that tank until there's no room for that anti-tank gun. So each force can only have so many of each unit type. So you can have 2 tanks, you can only have 2 pieces of artillery, you can only have 2 light vehicles, you can only have 4 lots of infantry. So if you know that the AI is going to buy an anti-tank gun when you buy a tank, what's stopping you from going, well, actually, I'll wait for it to fill up those artillery spots with something else, then I'll buy the tank because I know it can't buy an anti-tank gun. And then where's the fun? Like, you're going to beat it. Cool. Well done, you. But did you beat it or did you game it?
Yeah.
And so what we want is we want you to beat the system. We don't want you to game the system. So, yeah, I mean, there should be some predictability because players are predictable. Anybody that plays a game with me knows full well if they take a swing at me in turn 1, I will annihilate them for the rest of the game. The blinkers will come down and that's it. You are my game. I don't care what the guy over there is doing. I'm going to destroy you because you attacked me. Because I'm predictable and that's how I play. So you kind of still want that with an AI because you kind of want to have a personality, but you don't want it to be so predictable that it's no fun, essentially.
That's always been my issue. Now I was like you. I struggle with solo play games to the point where we were playing me and a couple of players were playing oh god, what's the Warhammer Space, it's not the Space, it's the newest form of Space Crusade, but it's not Space
Hulk.
No, not Space Hulk. What's it called? It's the newest one, but it's like you have rogue traders and you have a man of iron.
Blackstone Fortress.
Yeah, Blackstone Fortress.
Warhammer Quest in Space.
Yeah, Warhammer Quest in Space. And it is very random in that you roll a dice to see what you deal with, and there are certain parameters on what can and what can't come, but it just did nothing for me. Like, I like dungeon crawlers where there's a DM fucking with me, like, you know, throwing down a card, you know, I can expect that, or doing things like, I feel like, as much as I want to win, I feel like I'm challenged, and it, you know, even if, you know, if I do win, I feel like I've, you know, achieved that thing. But that did nothing for me. But what you're talking about, where it feels like there is that personality, where you said that an AI with a personality, that would maybe eke me into it, because I don't want to be able to game things. I want it to be somewhat of a challenge. And
it sounds like Blackstone Fortress is very random. Like I say, it's got random encounters and thing, but Vanguard is more a system of rules based on player action. Would that be a fair assessment?
It's a structured response.
Yeah, a structured response.
How do you give it that? So, because if I got Europa Universalis, the board game, and it's got this huge full rule book of like solo play with a bazillion flowcharts on how to solo play through it and stuff. How do you is it literally just you have to build out lots of different flowcharts to give you different options to give that AI a personality within the game? Is that how you would do it? Is it just you have to complicate it slightly more to give it a bit of an edge?
Yeah. So with Vanguard, where I started was essentially like you watch a couple of players play PvP, player versus player, and watch what they do. And so you have a look and go, 9 times out of 10, what do players do? They do X, Y, Z. Okay, cool. So we have to make sure that the bot is doing the same thing 90% of the time, so it feels like a player. But then you add in personality by basically saying, well, okay, we want this particular bot to be aggressive, so actually he's going to lean more heavily into high damage attacks or more dice attacks. So he's going to want units that have got more dice, so he's going to outgun you. But then you might have a bot that you want to have play defensively. So that will lean heavily into higher armor values, higher health values, and that will hopefully give you that kind of that feel of a different player.
Do you choose the bot, or is it a random?
So at the moment, it's based on the scenario you play. So the solo mode of Vanguard's it's a narrative campaign.
Okay.
It's going to be some number of scenarios, anywhere between 5 and 7 at the moment, depending on what we end up doing. So the first scenario, because it's Normandy, so the first scenario is it's the airdrop on the early morning of D-Day. So the map is San Meriglis, which was a church that was basically the center of basically the main airdrop that morning. So that particular bot plays fairly aggressively because you're dropping out of the sky into Normandy and it wants to come and get you. So the next scenario is the D-Day beach landing. So there's a set of beach tiles you can set up to be the beach. Then you've got the I can't say cliffs because they weren't cliffs. Damn you, Spielberg! That's not what it looked like. Like seriously, go and look at a Google map of Omaha Beach. Like it's brush about 3 feet tall.
Dunes
there were no cliffs.
Yeah.
There were bunkers for sure, but there were no cliffs, which we discovered drawing a map. So our artist drew this map. It was gorgeous. Yeah, this lovely cliff face all the way down it. And it was like, yeah, no cliffs on D-Day. No, it was a pretty tall wall. And it was heavily defended. And it was covered in machine guns. It's not a walk in the park. But yeah, and so you get 3 beach tiles, then you get the landing area, and then it goes on to the town behind it. We put the bunkers on there. So the 2 main bunkers from the beach are still there to this day, actually, and they're on the map. And we've tried to get them sort of geographically accurate on the map as you can with the hex-based map. But the bot in that one will play a lot more defensively, because obviously it's defending the beach. So it's going to have a lot more heavy armor stuff. It's got the fortifications in the bunkers, and it's going to play a lot more defensive. So as you bring more stuff on, it's not going to run towards you. It's just going to it's going to be like it's going to run you through a meat grinder, and it's going to you're going to lose troops after troops after troops trying to take on the beach. So the personalities at the moment are going to be scenario dependent. At the moment, it's purely narrative. I'd love to be able to get in like a standalone bot system where you could set up a map and do what you want.
Yeah.
But this then comes down to it within the confines of a scenario. I can make the bot do what I want. When you take it out of that scenario, there's then so much more stuff that's happening that can you teach it to know what to do in any given situation? So if you do the San Meriglis mission, the US don't have access to tanks. They weren't airdropping Sherman tanks out of the sky. The heaviest thing coming down was a Willys Jeep or maybe a 57mm AT gun. So in that scenario, I can confine you as the player to 9 different units that you can use. And because there's only 9 units there that you're picking from, I can tell the bot that actually you only have to worry about these units. You as a bot do not have to worry about armor. So we can ignore that as a thing to program into it. It hasn't got to worry about tanks because there aren't any, which means we can program it faster, easier, and it can react to you more efficiently. If you suddenly open up the game to anything goes, then there become a lot more moving parts for the bot to react to. So we may or may not end up with a standalone bot system. I mean, the DNA of the bot will be in there, and inventive players will find ways to do stuff, as they always do in any board game. If you go on Board Game Geek for any board game, there are hundreds of player design scenarios for all sorts of stuff. So the cool thing about solo is we don't have to account for everything. As long as you've got the bare bones to work with as a player, most solo gamers are inventive enough they can take that and run with it themselves.
Yeah, the game, man, like just like history games in general, I'm a massive fan of. And when I saw that pop up on the Warlord site, and I saw your mug on it, I was just like, oh man, this is gonna be good. And like, I just I'm really excited for it. Well, because I like Warlord Games. You can probably see some of these you'll see in the background. I've got like all the Hail Caesar stuff that's just popped up now. I got all I'm a massive fan of the Epic series as well, the Epic games. But when that popped up, I was like, oh my god! Effectively, Epic World War II. I was like, yep. I'm on that. So
what was it like working with Warlord Games? Given that this was they're your client, but you were producing a game with a kind of a bolt action-ish element to it.
They've been great.
Okay.
Yeah, they're kind of happy for us to kind of just run with it. So they've been fairly hands off. If anything's come up they don't like, it's been very clear, like you can't do that, or you can do this, or we really need this. But as far as like hard and fast red lines of like stuff I have to do, they're very minimal. And so they've been a pleasure to work with. So up until recently, I've been down there twice a week playtesting. So I take it down a couple of the guys. It'll be a guy from trade sales. It might be a guy from marketing. The whole company have really invested in it, and they all want to play it. So that's great. It helps that obviously, like they know World War II. They know the era. They know games around that era. So I mean, I play bolt action very casually. I play a lot. Most war games I play very casually because I play like an idiot. Because I love playing like an idiot. I play Night Goblins in Warhammer. Because there you go, right? That says everything you need to know about my approach to wargaming. So having someone at Warlord to be able to go back to and say, "Is this all right? Does this feel right? Like is this too silly?" And they've been like, "No, you just carry on. If you need reining in, we'll pull you back and tell you." So one of the things we tried to do to make sure we hit the right notes for the historical is I spent about a week with spreadsheets of statistics and data. So all the different thicknesses of armor for every tank that was present in Normandy. There's not a lot I don't now know about the arms and armor of the German and US forces between June and August in 1944. Like there's not a lot I don't know now. So when you pick up Vanguard, you'll see that the US mortar has a 1 hex longer range than the German mortar because it was more accurate at longer ranges. So it should tick all those really nitty gritty historical itches. And like we pass that to Warder. Like we love this. So in bolt action, every faction has like a special rule. So the Germans have a rule called Hitler's Buzzsaw, which basically makes all their machine guns better. So we've done that in Vanguard. If you're playing the Germans, all your machine guns are just better. You roll more dice. So and being able to then obviously tie that into bolt action and make it feel similar was really good. The only hiccup we had was we started it last year. But we weren't aware we first started that, as you've probably seen, because it's just coming out, Bolt Action 3 was on the way.
Yeah.
So we started, because we just jumped in both feet designing with Bolt Action 2. Thankfully, Bolt Action hasn't changed too much of the DNA of Bolt Action. It's still the same game at its heart. And things like Hitler's Buzzsaw are still in there. Those national abilities are still there, and you still have all the different bits and pieces. But so Warlord have been fantastic to work with, absolutely wonderful. So Pete from their marketing team, who's now their studio guy, he came down on Friday, and he was in with us for 2.5 hours, 3 hours, just going through like where we're at with the game, what we're doing with it, the look and feel of it. So they essentially they get final say on all the art. So if we draw something, we say, "Hey, we've drawn this. Do you like it?" And it's like yes or no. So these are the units we're going to use. So we sent over the here's the list of all the units both sides are going to have. Do you want us to add anything? Do you want us to take something out? So like we didn't originally have a US sniper, but snipers are fairly prevalent in bolt action. So put one in. So they've been a pleasure to work with, and looking forward to doing more Vanguard stuff. Hopefully it takes off when I can do North Africa or Pacific.
Oh yeah, that'll be awesome.
Have you talked about historical accuracy? Now you kind of got to balance that with game balance. So how do you kind of balance those two elements
with great difficulty. So the way I approached it was, so I'm going to say it's probably 85% historically accurate. So the US mortar's got a slightly longer range. The Pak 36 is not a good anti-tank gun as the 57mm M1, the US equivalent essentially, because it wasn't. And we changed that by basically adding a dice, taking a dice away. So it's a dice-based game, but they're not D6s. They're six-sided dice, but they have different symbols on them. So the white dice, there's a white dice, a black dice, and a red dice. The white dice is the not good dice. It's the base dice. The black dice is slightly better, and the red dice is really, really, really good. So the white dice has 3 blank faces, and then it has 3 faces with a symbol on. And for the sake of making them easy to read, they are a minus, a plus, an asterisk, star, and that's it. So they're very different to each other. When you roll them, all you care about is, have I got a symbol or is it blank? Any dice with a symbol is 1 damage to your target. So if my rifles shoot you, I roll a bunch of white dice. I get 4 minuses and 2 pluses. That's 6 damage to whatever they're shooting at. So to be able to balance that and make sure that riflemen aren't running around shooting tanks, we give tanks armor. So if you've got a light armor vehicle, like a Hanomag, it's got armor 1. Armor 1 ignores all the minus symbols on dice. So that's now only 2 damage to the Hanomag, which means we can make sure that a bunch of guys with rifles aren't killing Tiger tanks. So white dice can't hurt a Tiger tank. Tiger tank's got armor 4. So it can't actually, so as it stands, it can't be hurt by any symbol in the game. So you have to shoot it with something with armor penetration, which lowers its native armor value to then make the red dice and then the black dice be able to hurt it.
Okay.
And so to make it historically accurate, we can then go, well, the Stug, which was like basically it was a giant brick of metal with a gun on it. We can increase the armor on it to make sure not a lot of stuff can kill it very easily. Whereas Hanomag, which is a very lightly armored vehicle or like an armored car, we lower the armor and we give AT guns a black dice, so it's going to roll better symbols anyway. Should be able to do lots of damage to an armored car and light damage against a Stug or a Tiger. The only thing that is glaringly out of place, and I will be the first to admit, probably could have been any other unit in the game, but they're amazing and they look awesome, is the howitzer. So we've put the big giant M2A1 howitzer, which had a range of like 1.5 kilometers, right. Which is twice. If we extrapolate that the map is supposed to be like 100 yards per hex, it'd be able to shoot across 4 boards of hexes.
Right, okay.
So we gave it a range of 9, which is a lot shorter than it would be, but it's long enough that there are places you can hide from it on the board.
Right.
And that's one of those things where you go, it looks cool. It kind of has to be in there because it's iconic, but also it's got a 2-mile range, so we kind of fudged that a little bit. But creative license, there you go.
But Warlord are generally, when it comes to their I've got all of the Napoleon, the Black Powder epic stuff, and the Hail Caesar stuff, which is similar-ish and stuff. And I've noted like you talked about their history, like they really if you read the rule books, it's like reading a history book as well as a rule book. They really go in depth. Especially like the Napoleonic ones, they've got all the orders of battle, all the different scenarios based on the battle. It's got all kinds of cool stuff, and they base a lot of the traits based on what they were like, the generals were like as people and things like that. But the rule set is it's very much a case of, here are the main rules for the game, this is how you play it, and then just go and do the thing, and then you as a wargamer can sort of extrapolate from that. And I like that, as much as part of me kind of the sort of the 40k side of me wants rigid rules that I need to adhere to. They seem to be doing it in a more of a sort of like, well, this is the sort of kind of gist. Go and play the game
in a sort of more narrative approach.
Yeah, it's sort of like there's some slight vagaries which annoy me somewhat, but I've gotten my head around, because again, I've come from a side of gaming where it's like everything is written as it is and that's the way it should be. And going back to your conversation earlier, and doing this historical wargaming, where especially miniature wargaming, it's not as important, and it seems like, yeah, okay, I can get into that. That sort of gives me a bit more freedom, and I can actually enjoy the game a bit more. So yeah, I'm really impressed. Warlord are taking a lot of my money at the minute. So when Vanguard comes out, and if it does well, man, it's gonna be horrible for my wallet, because it's right, that sort of game's right up my street.
But it's not, because it's just a board game. It's one box and you're done.
Well, this moves me on to the next question though. Is it scalable? The problem it's going to have is can you connect two boxes? If I were to go, I want 2 boxes, could I connect 2 boxes together?
Yes, and also no, you won't need a second box. What you will need is the 3 and 4 player box, which will give you some more map tiles and another set of miniatures, but it won't double up on the stuff you don't need.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, so it's going to be in the main core box is going to be a 2-player and the solo, so 1 and 2 player box core game.
Yeah.
But the game will expand out to 3 and 4, which basically the map gets wider, so accommodate 2 players playing. You'll get 2 lots of unit cards. So we've come up with a really cool system for the miniatures, so you know what's what on the table. So you can have, so for the Germans, you can have 2 Tiger tanks, but they're identical and they're both grey bits of plastic. So what you'll get is you'll get a coloured tray which your model will sit on, and so you'll get a black tray and a white tray. So you'll get the black tray tiger and the white tray tiger, so you know which one's which on the table. So if one's taken damage, you'll have markers on the cards, like a little black token and a white token, so you know which one's which on your board. Now, if your friend comes along and is also playing Germans, he's going to have identical grey coloured tanks. So that's why we don't want you to buy a second core set, because your models and your trays are going to be identical. So the 3 and 4 player box will have a slightly different shade of grey. So you'll have, so in the core box you'll have like a light military grey for the Germans, and then in the expansion box you'll have a much darker grey for the extra German player. So there'll be a light grey white tiger and a dark grey white tiger. So I know the light grey one is mine and the dark grey one is yours. So so yes, you can expand it. It won't expand beyond 4. I'm sure. I say it won't. I'm sure. Again, we get back to inventive players. I'm sure if somebody somewhere wanted to play a 6-player game, there I'm going to discover a photograph of a 10-foot long board and 3 guys on either side with a bunch of tanks in different colours.
When you talk about 4-player games, are we talking like 4-way games or 2 players versus 2?
It'd be 2v2. It'd be teams. Yeah.
So in it, and so like the mechanics of the game, just not like I need you to sell it to me because I'm probably already sold, but it's a sort of like, but is it sort of like I'm trying to think. Have you played the Company Heroes board game at all?
I've had a dabble, because it's a necessity with designing this was what does Company of Heroes do, and I need to make sure I'm not making Company of Heroes.
Right.
Because the worst thing you can do when you're designing a game is spend 6 months on design and then come across something and go, oh, shit, that's what I've just made.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I've had a dabble with Company of Heroes. I like it. I'm not a fan of the way it deploys enemy units when you don't know what they are until they flip over, which is what we've stayed away from. So you always know what you're fighting against.
Right. So. And so within that, you've got resource points and stuff, and obviously you can only have a certain amount. And that's, there's no way of getting past that. So is there restrictions? So for somebody like me who likes shiny things, and I like, again, people can see behind me. I didn't go for Hail Caesar, just the starter box. I went Hail Caesar, all in, all the things and stuff, so I can have that all the plastic that's going to take me forever to build. But am I going to be restricted? So there's going to be I'll get the core box and I get the expansion box. So I'm never going to get more than 2 Shermans. I'm never going to have that urge to build like something that's going to give me 4, 6, 10 Shermans on a board. The rules of break.
I don't want to guess what your urges are, Matt. But
I'm just thinking if there's restrictions aren't bad. I'm just sort of thinking like, am I just going to go when this comes on the Kickstarter? Am I going to go? How many core boxes do I want? 10. It's sort of like.
I mean, ultimately that's up to you. I mean, like you don't need more than one,
right? Okay.
Because since it's a board game and not a war game, it is. Here's the box. That's everything you need to play.
Right. Okay.
There will be. We'll call them the luxury Matt Geary add-ons. So there'll be a giant neoprene mat with a map printed on it already for you to play on, and areas to put your tokens and things.
No.
There'll be goodies for you to add to it, but they won't strictly be necessary to play the game. Like everything you need is in that box. Yeah. If you want to play bigger games, there's a 3 and 4 player box, but beyond that, realistically, you don't need anything else. I mean. If you love the models, then you're probably better off just buying multiple of the 3 and 4 player box because that's not going to have loads of extra stuff you just don't need. Like you're only going to need so many dice, so you won't get dice in the 3-4 player box. You'll get those in the core box. So if you want 20 Shermans, then you can buy multiples of that box. But realistically, if you want to play a game where you've got loads of Shermans shooting the crap out of each other, then you should be playing Achtung Panzer.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'm just like, is it a points-based game? So, like, if I was to sort of so it's not like if me and Pete or me and Jon Jo were, I was going, Jon Jo, let's play a game, and I would go, I'm going to be this, you're going to be that. It's not points. I don't go, I've got X amount of points, and I build things up. It's no, okay.
So there's 15 different units for both sides.
Yeah.
And you always have access to them. That's always what you've got.
Right. Okay.
So as the US, you've always got the rifles, you've always got the Jeeps, you've always got the Sherman, you've always got the Stuart. And the game changes based on what you buy. So as I mentioned previously, you can only have 2 tanks. So your options for tanks are, as the US, you've got the Stuart, the Sherman, and the Wolverine. So there are 6 tanks to choose from, but you can only ever have 2.
Right.
So the game, you can change how the game plays by what you buy. I mean, there's nothing stopping you when you get the game. So the 1v1 PvP mode is kind of freestanding. That's not strictly narrative. It doesn't link together with other narrative games. That's for you to make a narrative when you play. And you could do that by saying, hey, let's play a game where neither of us can have armor. And so you get all your infantry cards. Or you could you could draft the cards. Like, or you could say, I'm going to pick 3 things you can't have in this game, and you take those cards away. So there's so many things you can do within the game yourself. So it's not points based, but there are ways you can make it fresh for you every time.
Okay, that makes me feel good because I feel like. Again, I'm ADHD as hell, so I'm just impulse buying. It's just like the problem I've got all this stuff around me is because impulse buys, but like. The fact that there's restrictions makes me feel better slightly because I feel like I can get the game and not panic about but I want to have all the things to make it massive. So.
Yeah, but Matt, we've seen you come in, so that's what Vanguard Africa and Vanguard the Pacific is for, mate.
Well, that's it, man. Well, that's it. I'm okay if they come along later, but it's like all the things here for you to have, Matt. Oh no, this is bad. But yeah, man, it looks from the pictures I've seen, the concepts and what you've talked about, it just I'm sold. I've already sort of saved the Kickstarter page for it. So it's not about if I'm going to back it, it's when I'm going to back it.
Excellent.
And talking about that, when does it come out on Kickstarter?
1st of October.
Nope.
It was going to come out on the 24th of September. We've pushed it back a week because that way it will launch at or over Essen. Pete and Colin from Warlord are going to be at Essen, and they will have Vanguard. I will be at Essen on a different stand, but I have been tapped to be on the Warlord stand at some point over Essen. So if you come past the Warlord stand at Essen, I may or may not be there.
I've just saved it, and I will be backing it. There
we go. Perfect. So 1st of October, it's going to run for, I think it's only a 17-day one of the things we were talking about on Friday was trying to decide how long to run it for. I think it's only going to be a 17-day campaign as opposed to like the big 5-week
Why
monster you normally see.
17 days rather than like the usual 4 weeks?
So Kickstarter's weird. So like generally most Kickstarters are 4 weeks long.
Yeah.
Because the very simple reason it hits 2 US paydays.
Yeah.
So your biggest audience is the US, and so if you could hit 2 US paydays with your campaign, you've got double the high paid weekend to hit. But then when you do that, you have a longer lull in the middle. So you then have to find stuff to keep the backers excited for longer in the middle to get that second payday. With a shorter campaign, you have a shorter lull. You increase the buzz around it and the FOMO, the fear of not being involved because it's a shorter campaign. Different campaign lengths have different benefits. James would be the guy to speak to. He knows all the Kickstarter stuff. My basic understanding is shorter campaigns and longer campaigns are both good for different reasons depending on what you want to do.
Yeah, it sounds like there's almost a science now to running an effective Kickstarter campaign. Before, it was very kind of hit and miss in terms of how they were managed, but now people have really kind of grilled down into the nitty-gritty of it and producing some really solid Kickstarter campaigns.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy, I can't remember the guy's name. There's a guy on YouTube who reviews campaign pages. He doesn't review the game. He reviews your Kickstarter page.
That's awesome.
For your game.
What a good idea.
That's mad.
What a good idea.
No, because like,
and people will pay him to review their campaign page.
Yeah, and so like and because like a good campaign page makes or breaks your campaign. You see people who they launch a game and like you can see like it's clearly a labor of love and they've put so much time and effort into it, but they've put like so little effort into the campaign page, and you're like, oh, it's just that's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah,
like it's like things that backers expect these days that you need to make sure you've got, like a rule book. Like it's like Kickstarter's supposed to be for projects that need help to get funded. So Vanguard's going on Kickstarter because Warlord have never done a board game before. They have no idea if it's going to be good. It's a solid game. We they love the game. We love the game. Everyone we've shown the game to unanimously has loved the game. Like everyone who's had a go or seen or talked about it says, this is amazing. I can't wait for it. So the buzz is great. But do you want to take the risk releasing a board game as a predominantly war game manufacturer? Do you want your first board game just be a thing you put out in your store? Or do you want to put your toes in the water and see what it's like? So, all the funding for this is going to go into producing it and getting it out. But then you have other companies that use Kickstarter as basically a storefront. Like there are companies who will put something on Kickstarter and that product's already being manufactured.
Yeah. Cool Minis are not quite like that, I think.
I work in the industry and therefore cannot make stone throwers who may or may not make Kickstarter harder work for us. But yeah, like, and so like Kickstarter's not a storefront, and the problem is massive campaigns, like $3 million, $4 million campaigns, where like, okay, let's use Cool Mini. Like, any Zombicide, right? Any Zombicide makes over $1 million, and it delivers in 6 to 8 months, or used to. I think they're behind slightly at the moment, but it delivers so fast for such a huge campaign, and then people come along. And let's use Senjutsu. Senjutsu was like James's first major campaign. Hogs was on Kickstarter and it did okay. Senjutsu was massive. And then people come along and are like, well, why isn't it ready? It's like, well, because that's why we Kickstarted it. Like, we're using the funds from Kickstarter to make the game. And like, so it's kind of like people who use it as a storefront, they muddy the waters of Kickstarter, and people like have different expectations now than they would have done previously. So like having your rule book ready, like you can't launch a Kickstarter without at least a serviceable copy of your rule book these days, because that's the first thing people start asking for is, when can we see the rule book? So I mean, so Vanguard will have the rule book available. That will be available to have a look at and read through on the Kickstarter campaign. So can we see physical copies of the product? Can we see Is it at the factory? It's like, well, no. Like we don't know how many copies we need. Like you can't. So it's like it's so weird these days, Kickstarter, and to see guys who don't put as much effort into the campaign as they put into their product, and you look at it and go, oh no, man, like you should have done better. It's like you see campaigns with like no pictures of the game or the product. It's like, well, even like a render of stuff. Like, so all the miniatures in Vanguard, we've had them all sculpted. So all our prototypes that are going to go to reviewers are going to have 3D printed versions of the exact models you're going to get in the box. So when people review it, they can see roughly what the product will be, because obviously 3D printing and hard plastic are slightly different. But it's like guys who do that and then they haven't got renders of the models that they're going to have. Like, here's my Kickstarter for a miniatures game with 100 miniatures. Cool. Can we have a look at the miniatures? No, because I haven't actually paid the sculptor to make them yet. So it's Kickstarter's weird, man. These days. It really is.
Well, we've had a lot of people on, generally RPG guys and stuff, like a few people who've done board games and stuff on Kickstarter, and it's all sort of similar stories in that you start something and there's a lot more to it in the background that we as a consumer would never see. And the lesson that I think we've learned is we've tried to tell people is that update people. Like, the one thing that really wound me up about Kickstarters, and I'm looking at the Kickstarter page for Warlord, they've never done one before. It's just mad. It blows my mind that they've never done a board game before. Part of me always thought they had, but obviously they haven't. And one thing that always winds me up about Kickstarters is that I'm a super patient guy. I understand that Kickstarters take ages, especially games that are like independent developers and things. I understand they take a while and stuff. But what always wind me up is when you get no updates and they just they don't do anything for ages. And I've always learned that even if it's an update to say, we're here, we're not running away with your money, it's just we haven't got an update for you or a picture or something to say they're there. As soon as you start having nothing, then that's when all the crazies come into the comments and start going, this is a scam. This is a scam.
It's so hard because again, this comes down to companies using it like a storefront, and people have got this expectation that the process is fast. And it's really not. No. Like, I mean, I don't have it on, because I'm at home, not on my office. I have a coin. So this is the best example of how things can go wrong that you had no idea could go wrong. So if you backed Senjutsu, one of the things you got as a thank you for backing it on Kickstarter that you can't get anywhere else is a rose metal coin. Mm-hmm. It's about yay big. It's got funky, it's got kanji on for Senjutsu. It's got some lotus blossom on the other side. It's gorgeous. It's a lovely little thing. As a thank you to backers for backing the game. It's rose metal, so it's a pink hued gold. So we have this design for the coin. We send it to China and we say we would like it in rose metal. It takes 2 days to get a response because of the time difference. Every time you contact China, it's 2-day response time because the times are all over the place. So 2 days later, we get it back. Yeah, we can do that, no problem. What's rose gold? Okay, cool, no problem. Language difference, not an issue. It's kind of a pink metallic color. Yeah, cool, got it. And I have got an example here, not the coin itself. What we got back for the first rose metal gold coin was a baby pink coin, but this color pink. This is my snack ball, by the way. But it came back this shade of pink.
Oh, wow.
And that's on us because we weren't specific with the guys in China. But it took a week to get the sample, and it came in powder pink. And we went back and said, oh, that's wrong. And then 2 days later, we get a response saying, oh, okay, what is it? And we went and got a bunch of image type and oh, it's like this. And I went, yeah, cool, no problem. Another week later, we get another sample and it's perfect. But that's 2.5, 3 weeks of delay for a coin that you got for free for backing the project. That's not even part of the game. And that's 3 weeks. And I imagine, like, if there's an issue with the product, so if the coin was a slightly golder shade of gold or a pinker shade of pink, we probably would have lived with it and gone, okay, it's not exactly what we wanted, but it's not the game. Like, the game is the important thing. That has to be perfect. And some stuff that, like, again, it comes to updates. Like, some stuff you either you think you've done or you didn't do or you thought someone else had done. So there were supposed to be linen cards in Senjutsu, because when we were doing the campaign, stretch goal, linen finish on the cards. Why not? Everyone does linen finish. Turns out linen finish does not work when you have really subtle artwork on your cards. So if you get a Senjutsu card, there's like a kind of almost a watermark effect on the back of the cards at the background. It's not a plain background. It's got like a watermark of like a tree and mountains and cranes and traditional Japanese art that our artist Mike spent hours, days making this glorious art. And we got the cards in and we're like, oh man, they are horrible. Like, all his art had just vanished into the texture. So they had to go. And then, there's literally 3 of us in the office doing this. Everybody thought somebody else had done the update. Nobody told the backers we weren't doing it.
Oh, okay.
And so we print 10,000 copies of the game. They all go out, and then we start getting people saying, I thought the cards were linen. And I was like, no, they were rubbish. So we took it off because it would made the game terrible. And then it was like, who did the update for that? And it was like, oh, crap. Bollocks, shit. No one did it. And it's like, okay, so we explain. Okay, yeah, we should have told you. We thought we had. We thought it had gone in an update. It looks like it didn't. But here's the reason. So here is the reason you don't have linen cards, because they were crap. And they ruined the artwork, and we took it off because it made the game better. And yet, because we didn't put it in an update exactly when it happened, to this day, we still have people emailing, complaining there's no linen cards. Like, it made the game worse.
Yeah.
We took it out to make the game better. Like it's like, oh, you just made money on it. Like, the cash difference to produce a game with linen finish, right? All it is they change the roller the cards go through at the end. So either it goes through a flat roller to push them all through, or it's a textured roller that puts the linen print on. The cost per copy to do that is less than £0.50 a copy at the factory. So we did not run off with £10,000 of people's money for linen finish. It was like £100 over the entire printer. And but stuff like that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Once it's gone wrong, you can't. What's the phrase? You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It can't be done.
It's one of those things where, and like, again, we've talked to loads of people who've run through Kickstarters and they've shared their experiences, and it's similar to yours. And it's like, as me, I think there was a prime example. There was a game called Airflix that came out from Dice Sports. The guy was a lovely guy. He was I think you've seen the game at probably at UK Games Expo. He's there all the time. Amazing game, really, really good game. Really, it took forever, but because he didn't, and I'm super patient, and I'm really understanding about these things, but because he didn't update regularly, and then shit went wrong for him that I didn't know about, and a lot of people didn't know about. Even got to me at the end where I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I was getting really wound up about it. And then we talked to Jared and is it Mark? Is Mark the other fella? Yeah, Mark. Is it
Mark Jepson?
Yeah.
Mark Jepson.
Yeah. And they were, because they know him really well. And then it's like, and they told us about all the stuff that was going on in the background, everything that could have go wrong, would go wrong. And I felt really bad, but conversely, as a customer, I'm never going to know that, and therefore I've just got to go with the whole, like, this isn't here, this isn't the thing. And having been, I've had 3 Kickstarters that have literally just disappeared with my money. One that was £350 actually at one point that just disappeared, and I've never got it and stuff. And so you always have, as much as I'm patient, you always have that urge of like, oh, am I going to get fucked again? Is this going to do it? Now, again, I try to be really patient, and it really annoys me when I see a Kickstarter that's like 6 months in and people are moaning about it already. I was like, have you ever been on Kickstarter before? Do you understand how these things work? And they're going, oh, this is a scam. And it's like, come on, man, give it some time. give it a couple.
Yeah. Also, the problem is as well is like you can't share everything.
Yeah.
Like, we screwed up and we didn't update backers about Linen Finish. Like we did. Like there's no getting around about that. We did. We absolutely dropped the ball on that one 100%. And that's on us. But then there are other delays that are on other people, and you don't air your laundry publicly.
Yeah, of course.
Like we have got issues and with different parts of the process. But we're not going to share that with backers. Honestly, and it sounds really, really harsh, it's none of your business. Like, if there's an issue and we can fix it, we will fix it. And actually, you never need to know about it. Like, actually, you never need to know about the ridiculous pink coin. Like, you don't. Like
that was hilarious. So I think that might have worked.
But it's a good example to show what can go wrong and how long it takes to fix things.
Yeah.
But it came up, we fixed it, and it's a story we share now because it's a good example of how delays happen, but we didn't post an update saying, hey, quick update, guys, the coin is really pink. Like, it doesn't serve a purpose. Like, all it does do is it says, hey, look at this thing that's gone wrong. Yeah. It's like, actually, what we prefer to do is go, hey, this thing went wrong, we fixed it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to give someone a problem without a fix. And so you don't air laundry publicly. You don't just give problems to people to make them go, oh, what else is going to go wrong? And so, and again, you also, like, if the campaign goes on, you might go 6 weeks where you've got nothing to share. Like, when you put the proofs in, and like, depending on when you're getting manufacturers, like if you time your manufacture wrong, going into Chinese New Year, you've got nothing to share with backers until March.
Yeah.
Like, you've got no production process. I mean, the factory's really cool. Like, if you ask your factory, no matter who you are, what you're getting made, if you ask your factory in China, hey, can you send me some videos of the stuff being made? They'll do it. They'll send a guy down there with his phone and he'll run around and show you the machines doing stuff. Box making, by the way, is so cathartic. I digress. But they'll go down there and they'll take photos, and you can share it with your backers and say, hey, look, the boxes are being made. Hey, here's, and we did with when we got all the models cast. I think there's one of the updates that's got like vats of samurai. There's thousands and thousands of plastic miniatures in there. And so they'll go and do that for you, but not over Chinese New Year. And not leading up to Chinese New Year because they're getting ready for Chinese New Year. So there are times when you have nothing to share with backers. So it really is difficult because we also, when we started on Senjutsu, I think we set our communication bar really high. So through the entire campaign, pretty much everybody who commented got an answer, like nearly 100% through the whole campaign. Like, I wasn't working for the company at the time, but I was helping James with the comments. And so when he was asleep, I was awake, and somebody was answering with like, when's the game coming out? I was already playtesting at the time, so I was answering questions about gameplay and stuff. And that set the communication bar really, really high. And then the problem there is, throughout a campaign, your working life is the campaign. Like, when Vanguard goes live, I will probably be in the comments most of the time answering questions about gameplay and design and all sorts of stuff. But that's while it's live. Once the campaign's finished, we have to go and work. And we have to go and make your game. And then suddenly the communication drops off. And from everybody getting an answer, you may be getting comments from us once a week. And then as time goes on and we're doing more and more work, our interaction goes down as our workload goes up. And then suddenly, hey, has anybody heard from Dan? He's not been on for 3 weeks. Well, he's there. I'm working, but I'm not commenting. And then, and that didn't do us any favors. But I mean, we've learned so much from that. Like, we will probably still do the same. I will probably still try and make sure every single person on the Vanguard Kickstarter gets an answer, because like the campaign's live, it keeps the buzz going, and everybody loves to interact, have a laugh. I mean, you get so many meme posts in every campaign, regardless of what the campaign is. Something will the community will coalesce around something that will become meme worthy throughout that entire campaign. So for Senjutsu, it's how do you take your tea? I don't know how or why, but that's what it was for 4 weeks. There were just like there were silly comments, there were GIFs, there were all sorts, and that's cool. But you can't do that all the time. I think what we didn't do and what we really should have done with that level of communication is when the campaign ended, we sort of put an update out and said, hey, yeah, it's been a wild ride. Heads up, we're not going to be here every day now. We got it. And I think if you do that and you set that expectation, I think you're right, but we didn't. And we really should have done.
Yeah, I think, well, that's it. For me, like, I post comments and stuff, but I don't expect sort of answers. It's more that this thing has happened or this thing I'm interested in, and hopefully that'll be in the next update. So maybe it's a case of, like, and I'm not arsed about them being even monthly and stuff, as long as I'm getting something on a sort of semi-regular basis. It's just when you've gone 6 months and there's nothing and stuff, and it's just like, for me, realistically, every 3 months you could probably put something out and say this has happened, or what I've been up to and stuff. But you do get, and I've had some where there's nothing, and you're just like, you're starting to panic. Like, what's one that I backed that hasn't had a lot of updates?
Ethically large space civilization game.
Oh yes,
which I may have also backed. I'm not entirely sure I'm ever going to see.
Yeah, exactly that one. It's Stellaris. It's gone very quiet. And that makes me feel sad. One, because I kind of want to play the game, but two, I've been burned a few times now to the point where I'm like, okay, when things go quiet for this long, it feels like it's. I'm
not feeling the fear on Stellaris because they've posted that the ships are in production. They've got some production going.
Right, yeah.
And also it's licensed, so Paradox aren't going to let them not release something, right? Paradox are going to want a game, like whether it's the game that they're designing or it's an earlier version because that's what they can get done. Like, we are getting it. It's going to arrive. But yeah, I agree. Like, there's only so many emails I can open, and actually that's still nothing new. That's like,
it's like, oh, come on, man.
Here's some art for some cards. And you're like, that's cool and all, but
I want my game. I want my game. I was just like, I'm being very patient here, but I want my freaking game.
I think because I've seen behind the curtain and I know how it works. I think I have a lot more patience with campaigns now because like there's got to be stuff they're dealing with that they either can't or just it's none of our business. Like there could be something going on that like we're never going to know the answer to, but I have the complete faith in Paradox and the team that we are going to get something eventually. But I agree that yes, we could probably do with knowing what that is.
Well, it's and we'll leave it at the last point because Jon Jo's about to kill himself because it's like he wants to talk about alien Romulus.
Do you know what? It's because I'm trying to take it in, and then I've been trying to do a bit of research as well in a lot of this, because this is the thing. I've never really grown up with. I mean, like board games for me was like Monopoly, Cluedo, and even years ago when I first pretty much when I first came out of college, I applied for hundreds of jobs, and one of them I even went to the Games Workshop.
Right.
And
I think we've all done that.
You know what? And they said to me, so what do you know about tabletop games? And I said, I know they exist. I said I'm happy to learn. I said I'd love to sit down in a session and have a game. And the guy just went,
next.
You do realise the session could be quite a few hours. I went, yeah. I said if he gets me the job, I said I'll come in all day if you want me to. I said I'll learn it.
Dedication.
He said,
for you.
what are you like with painting miniatures? I went, I've done painting, and I'm just assuming that it would just be on a smaller scale. Yeah, clearly I didn't get a call back on that one.
Well, good on you though.
That was it. I just wanted to try different places, and I applied for so many different ones. And this was in like Game Workshop. There was two within about a 5 mile radius of me. So
oh yeah,
when the first one didn't work out, I tried it the other one. I thought, right, let's try and tailor it a little bit different now. So I've obviously blown it on that side, and they said, "Oh, so what's your experience with tabletop game?" I went, "Well, I said I've got a little bit of experience." I said, "But I'm always willing to learn more." How much more? A lot, yeah. I can, yeah. I said, treat me like a blank canvas. I said, let's imagine that I've never played before, and they went, "You've never played before, have you?" No.
Should have just lied. It just reminds.
You had to have a go. It was like one of the things I thought, oh, come on, I need a job badly, and I thought, well, at least it could be fun. I'm sure. The thing is, I'd have been that person that just takes a minute and just goes, "Do you know what? That could just be all red. I haven't got to worry about that one. That one could be all."
The manager's pulling his hair out. Jon Jo, no.
Oh no! My approach to painting miniatures is basically a load of Space Marines, a black spray can, that's it. That's it. All I do is go, right, they're done. They're in stealth mode.
Talking about paint, right? I've got a couple of things I need to talk about because it's like I feel like I could go on forever, but I'll keep it short. But I have still got one of your painted miniatures, Dan, in my cabinet. I painted this cabinet. I've got, and I don't know why it's there. So you sold me.
Oh, you got my Space Wolf,
yes,
right? With the bare arms. Yeah.
Oh, mate, they are some of the coolest conversions ever. To the point where all of the ones I stripped them, right? Because I think you had yours guys in red and stuff, but I've got them with the axes and stuff still in my color scheme and shit. But you gave me, like, with the Space Wolves a werewolf figure, a wolf, like a
the wolfen, yeah. He was loads of fun to make, yeah.
And he's still there, and he's in that case behind. Yes. He's in the case behind me, and it's like, and I was thinking about it the other day because everything in that case I've painted, bar that one miniature, and it's like, I'm sure Dan will be okay with me saying this was mine. I think it's just there because it's nicely painted. Yeah.
I think he's based on an old, not 3 or 4 generations old plastic rat ogre. The first plastic rat ogres.
Yeah.
What I used to make those werewolves. Yeah, it was a plastic rat ogre, and a plastic wolf's head, and a plastic wolf's tail. Copious amounts of sculpting and green stuff, yeah.
That's it was just, he's sitting there, and it was just thinking about it the other day, and I was just like, he's actually not mine. I've painted everything else in here, but he's not. But it's like, I kind of don't want to take him out because it's like, but he's painted. And he's kind of, where else is he going to go? So he's just in there. So when people go, "Oh, did you paint these?" Yeah, I painted all of them, bar that one there. I didn't paint that one there. But yeah, so back to the Kickstarter thing. I have sympathy as well. I have really deep sympathy for, especially with a lot of the people we've talked to, and I fully understand. I think as backers, you have to sort of give some leeway. And I know it's hard. You're twitchy and you're feeling they're not talking to me and stuff. You just have to understand that shit goes wrong, will definitely go wrong.
Yeah,
and but obviously there has to be a limit to your patience. So and that goes back to the people who are creating these things, that you have to give some sort of confidence to these people who are getting slightly twitchy, that there is still people there and they're doing things. And with Stellaris, they might not be doing anything, but at least they're still there. So it's not like, at least you've like somebody to talk to, you're all right. You're still, I still might get my game and stuff, It's not like I backed Hero Quest 25th anniversary when it came out in, and that's going to be 30th anniversary very soon, and still haven't got it. And they're still fighting that. They're still fighting that one because of obviously the Hasbro stuff and all the other nonsense that came out. But but right. Anyway, one last thing I want to talk to you about, Dan, before we'll let Jon Jo loose on aliens. Okay, so non-game related, but how's Cass doing? How's the dog? So the story,
you probably saw him wandering around a minute ago.
Yeah,
but that's about the extent of his daily exercise. That's it. He's got up, he's turned around, he's lied back down again. Right.
So this is like how he's an amazing nerd, an amazing guy. But this is what him and Anna just like. I forever love them forever because of this. So they've got a Tibetan Mastiff called Cass, and it's a rescue. And this poor dog was basically was abandoned. And there was a photograph that came up on Facebook. I shared it. It broke my heart.
Yeah, this is all your fault.
Yeah, this poor beast. And like, they're as dogs, they're completely. People see them on TikTok and stuff, think, oh, they're cute and fluffy, and they don't realize their hard work, and they just get abandoned. And this poor thing was abandoned. And I got a message from Dan's wife, Anna, and she's like, "Yeah, so we're interested." Dan's going to drive there now, and we're going to take a look at it. And I felt like so emotional. I feel emotional thinking about it now, man. Like it makes me sort of like really. And they went and they saw it and they rescued him, and he's a part of their family now, and it makes me so happy just to think about it.
Yeah, but the one thing you didn't tell us, Matt, is how bloody stupid they are.
No,
like, as a breed, God, he's an idiot. Like, seriously.
How so?
No,
How so?
No, but the thing is, they're
vacant.
Yes, all right, I get my dog's an idiot as well. But the thing is, it's weird because in certain ways they're like velociraptors. So my dog can figure out shit. Like he will fucking like do that. You know that meme of the guy thinking, and there's like Pythagorean sort of kind of symbols and shit going on, and he figures something. He can escape, and he can do really like you'll go, how the fuck did you do that? But then stupid things, he'll just do random weird stuff, and you're like, you're an absolute moron. I just don't understand. They just don't seem to coalesce.
Is ours defective then? Because ours doesn't do anything smart.
All right, okay.
Well, what does Kaz do?
What does Kaz do? That.
They're not a needy. They're not a needy breed though, which is good in a way.
Kaz,
you don't.
No, you did that. That's it.
It's like mine. You're just like
I can't share what we call him publicly. Certainly cannot do that on a podcast. So he's just really vacant. So if he wants anything, he's coming. He's like. That's that, and you've kind of got to try and figure out, like, depending on how wide the grin is.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Do you want to go out? Do you need some water? Do you want your breakfast? And he's just dense, and also he's always exactly where he shouldn't be. Like if right now he's in front of the TV on the floor. That is about as far out of the way as he can be, and everybody can get around the house and get to the kitchen and get upstairs. Guarantee, I'll put money down now. When we're finished here and I get out of this chair and I go through that door into the kitchen, he'll be on the kitchen floor in front of the fridge that I'm trying to get to.
Well, they guard, like Boz does the same thing. What he'll do is, and he's a fucking asshole, like my cat, he basically blocks off exits so my cat can't get places. So the cat will go into the room and Boz will get up and lie in front of the door so the cat can't get out again. And he's just looking at me like, what? And it's my job. I'm like, yeah, but it's the cat. And he's just like, all right. And you have to move him out of the way. And then you'll sort of kind of tell him to move, and he'll go and sit right in front of the TV and just look at you. And he's like, get out of the way.
How do you move him? That's 200 pounds of stupidity.
Oh man, are you like on a serious note, are you he came to you with no doubt a lot. He's 10 years old, he's an older boy and stuff. Did you struggle with him at the start, or
not really? No, he was just, I mean, it was a mess when we got him. He clearly not been treated very well. We took him to get groomed like the day after we got him. We phoned the local place. They had a spot straight away. It was like, heads up, he's not in a good state. Like he stank. He was horrible. And they were like, yeah, no, get him in. And they took him, and he came back, and he was like, it was a whole new dog. They'd really done a good job on him. And like from that point on, he was just chill and mellow. We have a German Shepherd as well, who you can see just there. She was 2.5 when we got him. She's 3 now. And so the first week we had him, she'd just sit there in front of him, like nose to nose, and he just didn't care. He really did not care. He was just happy to be somewhere, I think. And about a week afterwards, she settled down, and now they're the best mates. So yeah, he's just settled in really well.
It's really heartwarming, like really, really heartwarming. Like it just sort of, when I saw the pictures, it broke my heart. And when you guys took him on, it was just like, and I saw the, afterwards and stuff. And there's an amazing picture of you and him like on his back with his paws out and stuff. And I was just like, man, amazing people.
Yeah,
amazing people.
He's a big softie. I wouldn't get rid of him. We love having him. For all the digs about how dense he is, he's a lovable bear. He really is.
Well, that's it. It is. And they're very, my TikTok page is just more about sort of people like I bought Boz, not knowing about the breed, not understanding the breed, and I learned a lot of lessons very quickly about them and stuff. And it's once you understand them fully, then they're amazing. They're an amazing dog. Just like just so like they're quite chilled in their own way. They're not needy dogs and stuff like that. They have their own sort of like puppyish ways sometimes, but they're just they're chilled, and they're an amazing dog. They are quite hard work. Boz especially is quite hard work, but I love him so much, and it just breaks my heart when people just gonna go, oh, he's a cute fluffy dog, and then they get them and they abandon them. And there was a spate of abandonments like through just after you sort of rescued him. There was like 4 or 5 people who were just taking these. And it was heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. And there was this woman, and she's just like, oh, we've had him for 3 years. We had him for 3 years. Me and my husband are breaking up. I don't want them anymore. I just don't understand how people can do that. It doesn't register in my head.
Shouldn't have a dog in the first place. If it's like, oh, I just don't want him anymore. Like,
yeah,
what? He's not a thing you get rid of. He's a member of the family.
Exactly. That's it. It just doesn't register in my head how people could just get rid of them and stuff. And it's just like, I appreciate people are sort of, you got your own shit going on, but would you get rid of one of your kids? If they're hard work and just doesn't register in my head. But anyway, amazing. I'm forever grateful. Now, I know it wasn't my dog and stuff, but it was just like, my heart went out to you for doing it. It was just an amazing thing to do. Anyway, Jon Jo, you've done nothing. You've not said very much throughout the entire podcast. I feel extremely guilty.
Well, as you've already been told, I couldn't even bluff my way into getting a job in the gaming store. So, I really wasn't gonna be able to contribute too much apart from the odd.
Okay, so for the last sort of kind of, we'll give it fit sort of 10-15 minutes. You've seen, obviously no spoilers because we've not seen it, but you went to see Alien Romulus.
Yes.
How did it go?
Well, I saw that on Friday night, and you know what? It's one of the things that we've seen a lot of franchises that have re-emerged after so many years, whether it's we're getting more reboots and sequels and prequels now instead of remakes, which is always good because I'd rather a story continue than start over again. So Alien Romulus, very brief details. It's set 20 years after the original 1979 Alien film, so it has got a.
So was that before or after Aliens? Before Aliens? Okay.
After Alien, before Aliens.
Okay.
Yeah. So 20 years after 1979 Aliens, and then so many years obviously before
57.
Aliens. Yeah. So I went into it. I read a little bit about it, and I saw the trailers, but it didn't really give you too much of the story. It didn't really tell you too much of what was going on. In terms of what the story does, it does give you a few hints to the first Alien film because there is some tie back. What I think it does as well, really well, it brings in some good connections to not just Alien, but it also harkens a bit back to Prometheus as well. So there are some. Don't get me wrong, I'm the first person to say Prometheus is not a great film, and
I
Alien
liked it.
I didn't hate it, but it wasn't the best one. No.
Yeah, and then
it
Alien
looked great.
Covenant
The plot was bobbins.
Yeah, but the thing is, Prometheus, I think, had some very intriguing ideas and some very, very good set pieces, and some of that does kind of come into play in Romulus. But what I will say is, Alien Romulus has got a very it has got a bit like a greatest hits kind of feel to it. It knows what works. It knows things to get your audience in, and it's not just taking like beats from the original Alien movie, but it's also taking ideas and feelings from Aliens, Alien 3, and even it's really trying not to spoil it, but I'll say there's some things from a certain Alien film. This probably does one big idea from a Alien film, which probably didn't go too damn well back when it was first released, but it kind of gets remixed in a way here. It's given a whole new lease of life, and it's it really is good. And it's one of them points that, as I was watching the film, I went, holy fuck, this is genuinely creeping me out. This is actually, I really wanted an Alien film to make me feel uncomfortable. And this is probably one of the first horror films in a long time I actually went, oh, Joe, yeah, that's actually really making me feel a little bit uncomfortable there. But yeah, Joe, I loved it. I think there is a few little issues with it, and if you notice, there is a trend in a lot of films now where there will be callbacks to certain lines, certain famous popular quotes, and there's even one that's done. When I watched it, I kind of laughed at first, and then I thought it doesn't make much sense why you've used that line, because that actually comes up at a later film in the chronology. So, but at the time I was like, okay, fine. But yeah, genuinely menacing. The aliens are they feel like a real threat this time. They really do feel like they've really gone back to basics. They know what works. The face huggers in particular, face huggers are just the creepiest fuckers ever. And if you've seen the trailer, you see that they it's not just the one that just bounces out. There's loads of them. They just storm out, and it's that scene in particular, when you first see the face huggers, that is genuinely one of the moments that I went, wow, do you know what, this is actually shaped up to be a really good film.
81% on Rotten Tomatoes apparently at the minute.
Is it closer in tone to Alien, or more like into the horror, or is it more kind of the, Vietnam space war film?
It's definitely closer to Alien. It's definitely keeps that that it's a very closed film in the sense. So
haunted house in space.
Yeah. So Romulus. Romulus is the name of this part of this spaceship where the film mostly takes part on. There is if anyone has played the Alien Isolation game, there is a few little feelings towards that, and I mean that's probably one of my favorite franchise games I've ever played, because that to me encapsulates Alien, and I always felt like I was in the minority. I always preferred Alien over Aliens. I prefer that quaint, almost isolated horror compared to don't get me wrong, Aliens I still think is a fantastic film. I absolutely love that film. But Alien itself, I think it was something different. It's creepy, it's unique, it's true horror, it's true suspense. Romulus gets that for about 75% of the film. And like I say, there is some big scenes, there is some big moments. But like I say, without trying to give too much away, there is a certain actor who is in this film called David Johnson. Now, I don't know, because watching the trailers, I don't think his character was really given away too much, so I don't really want to say too much on that. But to me, he steals the film, and this is probably my favorite performance of the year as well, because this guy how he just switches on, switches off in certain moments is just incredible. There is just such a tense atmosphere from this character. There is, as I say, there is a few little issues I did have. If anyone has seen Rogue One,
yep.
What are you
talking about, Jon Jo?
Before you say anything, Matt, I'm talking about there is in Rogue One, they digitally brought back Peter Cushing to
Tarkin,
play Tarkin.
Yeah.
There is something similar in this, which it kind of works, and the CGI is definitely gotten better since Rogue One.
Well, it's not exactly getting worse.
But it does make sense in the grand scheme, and I guess you probably will get some people that have never actually watched Alien, but if they saw this, they'd probably be quite amazed by what goes on for this part of the film. And I think just so, because like I say, I'm really trying not to give anything away, but I will say probably one of my favourite elements, especially in the early part of the film, is the depiction of the Weyland-Yutani group, who are basically shown to be the real arseholes that we know they are. You know, they are treating people like crap. They're working them to the bone. They're making sure that they get every little thing out of them. And, you know, who doesn't sympathize with that? Who doesn't think that in their job, you know, they're just being used and, you know, I've got my freedom. No, you haven't.
Is Weyland-Yutani portrayed as, you know, inherently evil but fundamentally competent?
There is a certain competency to it, but
that's right. Because it's just like in the Alien vs Predator film, when it was like the Weyland Corporation, they were fundamentally incompetent.
Yeah, but I think with this, it's I'm trying to figure the better way to put it, but it's almost like best way to compare it. Amazon. If you think of you know, what's happened in certain stories with Amazon, a lot of people that have you know, apparently there was a big thing about the amount of ambulances that have been called out for Amazon workers. There is kind of that feeling. It's like, you know, people being worked so hard, and in some cases with Weyland-Yutani, people are being worked so hard that, you know, they're just like, yes, if you feel ill, if you feel like you have a cold or you're feeling a bit, yes, please come and see one of our medics, and they'll see to you as soon as possible to get you working again. It's like, yeah, okay. I'd rather have not taken this job now, I guess. But and do you know what? And I think what's good is the guy who's made this film, Fede Alvarez, he done the Evil Dead remake in 2013,
right,
and he also made Don't Breathe as well. Two really good films. So he knows the genre well. He knows how to get that audience in. Yeah. So until you guys have seen this, I can't really say much more about it.
Okay, well, I'm going to hopefully see it within the next couple of weeks. Well, hopefully by the next podcast, I'll have seen it, and we can have proper banter about it. One thing that frustrates the hell out of me, I'll put it on screen for the people who are watching, is that Alien 3 is rated less than Alien Resurrection, which was Resurrection was garbage. Alien 3 I thought was half decent, so I don't understand why it's sitting on 44% lower than Alien Resurrection.
Alien 3 is that it came out after Alien and Aliens, and people automatically compared it to that too, and it just couldn't meet it. And there were fundamental problems during development. I mean, if you look at the development stories of behind Alien 3, it was really rough. I mean, some fantastic ideas out there, but I mean, they had William Gibson writing the script.
Now, that's about a wooden planet, or
exactly.
Yeah. The thing is like people saying, the behind the scenes problems of that film were fantastic. They even built so many of the sets before they then went and changed the story. They're like, yeah, we're not doing this wooden planet anymore. They're like, oh, but we've already done all.
There's also a massive backlash against Hicks and Newt being killed right at the start. And I think that kind of influenced a lot of the initial ratings.
Yeah.
It's a shame because I think it was really good as it was.
I like it as well.
Yeah, as it was sort of, I was a massive Aliens fan. Alien, I could take or leave. I appreciate it's the progenitor of the entire franchise and everything, but Aliens for me was the film that I always loved. So seeing Hicks, in Alien 3 die, my young self was sort of like, but what? No more guys running around with guns killing fucking aliens. But as I got older as well, watching it, and it's just like, this is a good film as a suspense build sort of, alien film. It's really good, and I don't think it deserved as much hate as it got.
I think what I once heard was like, someone said to me is like, Alien 3 is a brilliant film, but a fine Aliens film. And I think that was a problem. It's association. Because it was so different to the previous two films, and it killed off together that people kind of soured the taste for people. I mean, Alien Resurrection in itself was fine. It has some great moments. And I mean, I love the fact that Chow Yun-fat.
No.
No.
The only words that can follow Alien Resurrection is shit.
It's garbage. Yeah, it's fucking bad.
I mean, the ending was terrible, but all the build up to it, the crew of the yes.
With Alien Resurrection, I always found that Alien Resurrection had such a good cast, though. Because if you think who they had, Winona Ryder, Ron Perlman, Brad Dourif, there's some great people in that movie. And don't get me wrong, Alien Resurrection is not good necessarily, but is it enjoyable? Yeah, it's a fun film. I don't think that's what Alien should be. I think it's fun.
The worst Alien film there has to be is Alien versus Predator Requiem. Now that was garbage.
Yeah,
every time they go anywhere near AVP, it's garbage.
Yeah,
because seriously, why can't we have Machiko Noguchi? Why can't we have that movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that is there's already a fantastic AVP story. Just turn it into a movie. Just do it.
Yeah.
Don't do the second one. If you've ever read the AVP books, don't ever go near the second one. Ever.
Right. Okay.
I've got the first one.
Yeah. So
is that Hunter's Planet?
I don't feel bad spoiling the second book because it's so bad. So the first one's great. So you've got the whole honor system of the Predators, and Machiko helps him, and he helps her, and they kill the queen, and she gets absorbed into the Predator tribe. Fantastic. First bit of the second book's really good because it follows her and her integration into Predator society and her complete failure to grasp their honor code. And then they go to this planet where our glorious saviors, Wayland Yutani, once again are fucking about, but they're messing with the DNA of aliens and other stuff, and there's aliens carrying guns at some point. I can't quite remember how that comes about. I kind of checked out at that point.
Oh god.
But yeah, it goes completely off the rails. Like it's if you want to read something truly awful and just rot your brain for no reason, you should read the second AVP book. It's tripe. And it's like, I feel like that's the source material for every AVP movie, and they don't realize that the graphic novel and the first book are absolutely fucking awesome.
I think when Alien vs Predator was made, it was one of these things because I think they just capitalized on this idea that we could throw some franchises together on the screen and it works.
And it was like a 12 or something. It wasn't even.
Oh, don't you dare! John, no, I know where you're going with this, and I won't have a bad word said about it.
So year before was Freddy vs Jason.
Yeah.
And you know what? I really enjoy Freddy vs Jason because I think it was just such a batshit crazy film, but I loved it. It was just so.
Freddy versus Jason. Is it Jason X when he's in space?
Yeah. Jason X in space.
That's a fantastic movie.
I think that's a very underrated film.
There's a fantastic scene in Jason X, right, where they try and stall him, and it's like it's been ripped straight out of Star Trek. He's on like basically a holodeck, and they create this hologram. Yes. They create this hologram of Camp Crystal Lake. Yes. There's a fantastic scene where he zips one of these he doesn't realize it's a hologram. He zips a camper up in a sleeping bag, winds it up in his hand, and he uses one camper to beat the others to death with the sleeping bag. Awesome.
Oh man, I forgot about that bit.
So crazy. And that was only I think the year before Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah.
Which is insane that they went with that. They went, yeah. Do you know we're producing another one? Yeah. So what's going to happen now that Jason's been sent to space? And no, we're not doing that. We're going beforehand. Ah, okay.
Didn't they do like a Hellraiser in space or something at one point in time? Wasn't it like so? There was that time. Where
that is not good.
Yeah, it's like everything's got to be in space.
I feel like anything Alien related after Alien 3, and I'm with Matt on this. I really like Alien 3. I think as a standalone Aliens movie, it's really good. It just sucks that they kill Hicks and Newt off screen.
Yeah.
But they had to make it work like it did. Like so you're on an all-male prison planet. You can't have a small female child on that planet. Like there's no way that ends well for anybody. So she had to die off screen. So Alien 3 is fantastic. Aliens is like the best war movie ever made. And Aliens is just, it's just awesome for what it is. But then beyond that, the only good Alien stuff has been like comics and graphic novels. Like if you want to, like the AVP graphic novel is amazing. Another good one, bizarre, again.
Book 2. Sorry. From Dark Horse, the original, not the remake.
Yes, yeah. But another weird crossover that shouldn't work but does, and is definitely worth checking out if you haven't read it, is Aliens versus Predator versus Terminator.
I once read Alien versus Superman.
I can't touch that. That's just
don't. No, Superman was punching out aliens.
But as I was saying,
because that meant he didn't have to kill anyone. It's like,
but as I was saying, in terms of like Alien as well, Alien Isolation. If you've not had a chance to play that game, it is just so good, and it's probably as well like it is one of the most tense games because you are pretty much for the whole game you are trying to survive against an alien that's hunting you down.
And you have no guns. There's barely any guns, aren't there?
No, there's very little guns. Really, the only thing you can do, you can either hide or if you
run.
Hide, run, or if you've got a flamethrower, that will basically give you a few seconds for it to jump off, and then you can go and hide.
I can't deal with games like that, man. They freak me out.
Matt, you should play it. It's amazing. But I recommend you play it at 2 a.m. with the lights off.
No.
I'll tell you what. When it jumps down from a vent and grabs you, and you're literally in the middle of a mission, that fucks you up. That really does.
The thing is, man, I don't believe in anything. I remember playing Doom, like the new. It was like Doom. It was the newest one for like the Xbox 360 or something like that. And I was sort of I was sitting there playing it on my own in the dark as a student, and there was a bit in it where there's all this whispering going on, and I was just like, nope, I can't do this. So I had to go downstairs and say to my housemate at the time, I was like, dude, you're going to watch me play this game, okay? Just so you're in the room at the same time. It's just, I can't deal with like freaky games. It's weird. I just can't do it.
I love a good horror game. I really do, because I like that idea that you're building up your bit of adrenaline, and so what? You might scream and wake up all your housemates or your neighbours or something.
I thought it would be a really good series, just watching me shit myself on stream playing these games.
When at the height of my isolation playing, I thought it'd be hilarious to stream myself playing it at 2 a.m. in the dark, because I thought, what's not to like about 6'6" giant hairy man shrieking like a child every 5 minutes? I've not actually completed isolation because I'm scared to. I shit myself so much playing it. I don't want to. But it's really cool. So the reason I love it so much is I am really hard to scare. There's very little moves me. I find jump scares to be cheap tactics. And yes, you've made me jump, but that's not because I'm scared. It's because you're cheap and can't direct.
Yeah.
And so I'm really hard to scare. And so isolation, like I loved it because I I think I spent about half an hour sitting in a locker. I'd got in a locker to hide the alien,
this locker.
and I realised I'd been there for half an hour, and I was like,
"Oh God!"
But I was reading somewhere. I wasn't aware of this when I played it, but I was reading apparently that if you've got a mic connected when you're playing, the alien can hear you.
Oh shit!
Apparently so. Apparently so. I never tested that theory myself.
It's like that. It's like that game. I've seen some people streaming it. Again, it's a game I'm never going to play, but basically, it's like a hidden camera footage sort of thing where you've got it's like a Blair Witch sort of thing, it's like you're walking around with a handy cam, but it's connected to your microphone, and if your voice goes over a certain level, then you die. That's the end of the game and stuff. And so basically, it fucking tries to freak you out as much as it can.
So you turn your game, you gain the game.
Yeah, but that would be gaming it then. That we were talking about gaming games, Pete. But it's like, if you want to play it properly, I can't talk about it now because I could go on for another hour and a half about it. But people gaming things just annoys me. Just play the fucking game properly. But yeah. But yeah, so Aliens Requiem, not Alien. Oh god, not Aliens Requiem.
Aliens Requiem. No, we're not
Aliens
going.
Romulus. Aliens Romulus, worth seeing then, Jon Jo.
Also coming up late, I think next year is Alien Earth. The Alien TV series.
Oh, the series. Okay. Yeah. Oh, actually, before we go, have you seen? Because we're talking about aliens, Dan. Have you seen Prey? What did you think of Prey?
Oh, I thought it was amazing.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm again, like we had a huge Alien fan, huge Predator fan, which is why I get so wound up by the AVP movies. But Prey was fantastic, and I am fully behind whichever genius on the internet floated the idea of Haruka. Is it Haruka?
Yes, the samurai one. Yes.
Yeah, him as a Ronin trying to avenge the death of his master who dies at the hands of a Predator.
Yes.
I am in for that shit. Get that thing made.
100%,
I don't care what mountains you have to move.
I would say Prey is the best Predator film.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. But if you've seen like this, the thing about having it in feudal Japan, like it just makes so much sense. It sort of harkens back to Predators, which isn't a horrendous film, but the bit where the triad sort of faces off with the samurai sword against the Predator. I was like, yeah, that was kind of cool.
I always enjoyed Predator 2. I thought it was
not
quite
Predators,
fun.
Not Predator 2. Predators, which is the one when they go onto the planet.
Brody. Adrian Brody one.
Yeah. It's like I didn't hate it. I thought it was pretty good. Out of the current Predator films, it's Predator 1, Predator 2, and Predators. And then Prey first now, because I think Prey sort of. Though I feel bad because like can you surpass Predator? Because it's like they're kind of two separate.
I mean, I think Prey is basically Predator 1, but slightly more serious.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it hasn't got all the ridiculous 80s overtones. I mean, like, there's like the cool thing about, because Predator 1 is just a cheesy action movie. Ultimately, it's a cheesy sci-fi action movie, and that's all it is. Then randomly, we get Predator 2 with the most unbelievable protagonist ever. It's like some random aged cop against the Predator.
Prey ties into Predator 2 with the pistol.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
Really?
I thought they did. I thought it didn't need that.
Really?
Because it was cool. Because like I'm with Jon Jo. Like when you first see it and you go, "Oh, that was amazing! Oh yeah, it's the freaking gun!" And then you go, "Oh, because that's sad. Because that means
they got it back.
She gets killed by a Predator. Yeah. They get it back."
Well, they said
because the only way you can hand it over in Predator 2 is if he's killed the owner. Because it's a trophy. She wouldn't just give it back to a random Predator.
But it was also 300 years later.
Well, yeah, but
she died after 300 years.
Yeah, but the thing is,
she dies of old age as some random guy finds it, who then gets killed by a Predator who takes it as a trophy to. But do you know
what I mean? This idea of like doing a historical, like another historical Predator film. Yeah, I'd be all up for that.
Feudal Japan. It'll be fucking amazing.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If that does happen with what's it? The one that played Scorpion in Mortal Kombat.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Hiroyuki Sanada. Yeah, if he appears Yeah, if he appeared in that, I mean, that'd just be incredible. That'd be so good.
Well, off the back of Shogun as well, so you think,
Yeah.
like do it. It'd be amazing.
Shogun season 2, right?
Yeah, well, Shogun. Oh man, yeah. Well, we're not going to talk about that because this just goes into the history side of things. Anyway, because we're over already, and I feel like we could carry on talking quite a long time, and it's getting late. But yeah. So Dan, it's coming out in.
Oh right, yeah. The reason I'm here.
Yes, the Vanguard. Vanguard's coming out in October.
Yes,
October.
1st of October.
1st of October. By all means, please come back on after, see if it's going well at the end, when you're ready then just to talk about it and stuff. I'll definitely have when I've backed it, we can have a long conversation about it.
Well, hopefully, after it's live, I'll be able to tell you the exciting, cool shit I couldn't talk about today.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh,
sounds good.
Yes, definitely.
It sounds good. Awesome. Amazing. But man, it's been an absolute pleasure. Like, I can talk forever about gaming and stuff in general. So, yeah. Thanks for coming on. Kudos for rescuing Cass, you legend. You give all my love to your missus as well. Thank you very much. For tonight, I've been Matt Geary. With me has been Jon Jo Cosgrove.
Take care, everyone.
Peter Allison.
Good night, everyone.
And our special guest, Dan Knight.
I don't have a catchphrase.
Night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.